So if you've not heard the latest on this, it continues to percolate, the story. Maybe you missed it. So we are now told that the Luka street clothes trade, Luka Doncic for street clothes Davis, originally included multiple first-round draft picks and the Lakers' latest draft pick, Dalton Connect. That they were all included in the original transaction. The trade, though, said to have gotten whittled down. There are reports indicating that the Lakers executive, Rob Skinny Jeans Pelinka, convinced the Mavericks to take less, saying to the Mavericks, says, listen, I'm taking the risk here. Luka, according to the report, Luka, as just laid out, implied Luka's an alcoholic and has a weight problem. He's addicted to food, and he's a drunk. That's what the report indicated. So that's, it's interesting to think about. Wait a minute. Did the Mavericks trade this guy because he can't control his liquor and all that? Now, so essentially, the argument is, and this is the argument other people are making now, is that the Mavericks tried to get out in front. Their argument is that Luka is like Joel Embiid. He's not that interested in playing. He doesn't take the game seriously. He likes what being a basketball player is about, but he's not a professional. He's an amateur when it comes to showing up on time, following the code of the West, doing what has to be done. So that's the spin that the Mavericks are putting out on it. So let us discuss the question, thumbs up or thumbs down to the Lakers GM, Rob Skinny Jeans Pelinka, convincing the Mavericks to take less for Luka Doncic. That's the argument that's being tossed out there, that the Lakers somehow used a Jedi mind trick to convince the Mavericks to take less. So I'm going to go thumbs down on this one. I'm going thumbs down. I've got Honky Tonk, James Bond, and Brewski. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make a I want to get away weekend, because if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you want to get away. They will be serenaded with booze for the rest of the season. It is going to get ugly in Big D. But I am going thumbs down to answer the question whether or not you believe that Rob Pelinka convinced the Mavericks to take less for Luka. I'm going thumbs down. This latest chapter in this, and the NBA is really good at drama. They're not really good at anything else at this point, but the drama's solid. It's on point. So this latest chapter is a Shakespearean-like drama, if you will, around the legend building of Rob Pelinka. Who do you think leaked the story that Rob Pelinka somehow convinced the Dallas Mavericks to take less? You think that was the Mavericks who leaked that? Or do you think that was Rob Pelinka's PR person that leaked that? Things that make you go, who could it have been? Who could it possibly have been? My God. Rob Pelinka pumping the tires on Rob Pelinka to genius levels. Now, you really have to be a sucker to buy that. We're not buying it, but if you are, good for you. You're a loser. My God. Pelinka is the ultimate trust fund baby in terms of an executive. He got in good with Jeannie Buss, and now he's a made man. With the Lakers, he had Luka dropped into his lap at a silent auction. I mean, it wasn't even really an auction. It was like, just submit an offer. No offers are rejected. Just submit an offer, and you're the only bidder. And an auction would mean there's other bidders, but you're the only one that bid. It was a name your price situation. Now, of course, he wants you to believe that he's some kind of basketball savant, that he pulled a fast one on Nico Harrison. And it just makes me want to puke in my mouth, the whole situation. Like, this is somehow, and then you look at the reporting, it's like, well, here's why Dallas traded him. And was that made up, or are the Mavericks letting people know? It's like, hey, listen, this guy's a drunk, and he's a fat ass, and that's why we traded him. Is that just being made up by the media, or is that somebody for the Mavericks planting that seed in the media? But the Lambeau leap of faith of you, I'll call it the Lambeau leap of faith, because it does remind me, been doing this for a minute, you might remember the cautionary tale of sports gone past. Jerry Glanville, old NFL coach, his most famous line, Jerry Glanville, was the NFL stands for not for long when you make calls like that. But Glanville famously traded away Brett Favre. He was coaching the Atlanta Falcons. Hall of Famer Brett Favre. Traded him to Green Bay, and then years later took a victory lap, Jerry Glanville. He said the reason that the Falcons traded Brett Favre to Green Bay was because he could not get Favre sober. He was a drunk in Atlanta. He had substance abuse issues. So they traded him, Glanville. He patted himself on the back. I remember this about 15 years ago. Glanville did an interview, and he patted himself on the back. He said, listen, we traded him to a place where the only thing to do at 9 o'clock is to go to Chili Joe's. And you can either get it with onions or without onions, and that's it. And those are your only options. And so, but this is the antithesis of that. This is not that. I mean, if this reporting is true and the Mavericks tried to sober up Luka, and he's got a drinking problem, but they sent Luka to a city where the honky-tonk never closes. They have the bars, but then after that, they have the after parties in the Hollywood Hills that do not stop. They do not stop. So there's some funny business going on with this story. Now, page 2. What is your favorite conspiracy theory that has made the rounds with the Luka Doncic trade? And I'll go first here. And if you've not been following along, there are many of them. I'll give you the thumbnail recap of some of my favorites. The Adelson Group that owns the Mavericks is trying to upset the fan base, the customers, so much that they eventually relocate the team to Las Vegas so they own a lot of property. They're big shots in Vegas because of gambling, so they want the Mavericks to be the NBA team that goes. In order to do that, they have to destroy the franchise and put little pieces of asbestos all over the franchise, and then eventually they'll be able to get rid of that and move it to Vegas. So that's out there. There's the Adam Silver directed this to happen because the NBA is such a crappy product. Nobody cares about Oklahoma City and Cleveland, and it's killing the product. That the teams that are the top teams are Cleveland and OKC. It's just bad for business. So the Lakers are pretty boring. So why don't you shake it up and we'll make sure Luka goes to L.A. Don't even offer him to any other team because he might have ended up in Oklahoma City and that would have been bad. So just that's it. So it was all manipulated by the league office, the association. Decent conspiracy theory. But my new favorite today, ask me tomorrow, I'll have a new favorite. But my new favorite, Luka, my name is Luka. My new favorite conspiracy here is that the Mavericks GM, Nico Harrison, is James Bond, 007. James Bond. What do I mean by that? He's a secret double agent provocateur that Nico Harrison is pretending to be the executive running the Dallas Mavericks, trying to win in Dallas, but he is working as a James Bond double agent. You see, you can take the boy out of Nike, but you can't take the Nike out of the boy. And for 19 years, working his way up, Nico Harrison was a Nike executive. And if you look at Luka Doncic, a proud Nike guy. If you look at Luka, they need to sell shoes. You're going to sell more shoes with the Mavericks. You're going to sell more shoes with the Lakers. These shoe magnets, they directed. The conspiracy is that Nico Harrison was directed by Nike to trade Luka, but only to Los Angeles. That's it. That's all. And he did it. And so when he gets fired by the Mavericks for doing this, he will just go back to Nike, and he doesn't care because they'll pay him a couple million a year, and he'll work for Nike. A decent conspiracy. All right, now, final point. From the Files of the Bizarre on the Ben Maller Show, Utah Jazz president and former nemesis of the Lakers, a Celtic legend, Danny Ainge. Did you see this? So if you saw it, you're laughing right now because you know where I'm going. So the story is that Danny Ainge had no idea. He was totally in the dark that he was helping to facilitate Luka Doncic going to Los Angeles. That, remember, the only way this works is if the Jazz are the stool pigeons and they facilitate the trade. Because they needed that third wheel. They needed that third wheel to make this happen. And the Utah basketball team did it. The boys in Salt Lake said, yeah, we'll help you out. Sure, why not? So the reporting is that Danny Ainge had no idea. He's essentially claiming ignorance until about 30 minutes before the trade was finalized that he was helping to make this happen. So how does Danny Ainge look with this over-the-top claim from people around the Jazz that he was ignorant of what he was doing in helping to be an accomplice to the giveaway of Luka Doncic from Dallas to the Lakers? So Danny, I'll tell you how he looks. He looks like he's having a brewski. He's at a local watering hole. The watering hole is named the Village Idiot, and he's the mascot of the watering hole. Like, come on. I understand you're all trying to get out of this. It looks bad for the Jazz, right? The Jazz, Luka's in his mid-20s, so assuming he's not actually an alcoholic and he needs to go to a fat farm, that he's not that bad, the Lakers will be okay with Luka for a few years. And the Utah Jazz, who are just treading waters, playing tiddlywinks as they waste time. I don't know what they're doing. I have no idea what they're doing, the Utah Jazz. They're just collecting draft picks for a rainy day. Just collecting a lot of draft picks is what they're doing. It's ridiculous. But Danny Ainge does look like he's the mascot of the watering hole known as the Village Idiot Pub. Man, and there's a lot of people who love to tell you how smart they are most of the time and are very braggadocious about what they know and high basketball IQ. Those people are claiming ignorance when it comes to this. They're getting the hey, not my fault. I didn't know. I had no idea. What are you talking about? It's getting sketchier and sketchier by the minute. Sketchier and sketchier by the minute.